of the human being was induced in the form of a generalized amnesia, which served to enable the visitors to reassert their own supervision and their control. 25,000 years ago, the beings of two big civilizations, Orion and Pleiades, were sent by the galactic counselors to intervene on our planet as guardians and sentinels. Some of them were beings from Orion, and others were beings of the Pleiades. Not all Orions had a humanoid or anthropomorphic appearance. There were ones with reptilian appearance, specifically the chief of the Orions, who was called Satan, an extraterrestrial, not to be confused with Lucifer, who was an ultra-terrestrial. Over centuries of angelology, the study of angels, so much confusion has developed that sometimes the same name is used to refer to an angel of light or one of darkness, and vice versa. For example, the word Satan, adversary, is used to refer to Lucifer when they are two completely different entities. The Guardians and Sentinels had the idea to evaluate the evolutionary process of humanity. As mentioned earlier, a terrible devolution had been produced, specifically referred to in chapter 11 of Genesis, when it says the Elohim saw that the human beings spoke the same language and that we had been able to build a ladder to the sky, that now nothing would be impossible for us. This ladder obviously wasn't a ziggurat, or a tower, or a pyramid, but a psychic and spiritual connection. So they decided to come here and confuse the languages. They made us forget, and that forgetting was a form of devolution as recorded in the cosmic plan. Then the responsibility of these guardians and sentinels was assigned to Satan, who was a loyal follower of the teachings of Lucifer. Satan took a moment to consider that if the project had failed in the other 7 planets, and that if here the experimenters had lost control of the experiment from the beginning, it could jeopardize the cosmic statu quo, the established order. The best thing to do, he reasoned, was cancel the project and end it so that the experiment would not continue in our world. Not all the Guardians and Sentinels were in agreement with Satan's point of view, and some of them stayed loyal to the cosmic plan, while others turned against it. Thus, a tension and crisis arose among the Guardians, initially on the theoretic level, but subsequently became a real war of the galaxies, whose echoes still resound throughout the universe. The Bible tells of the war between the sons of light and the sons of darkness, the war of the angels. The Mahabharata and the Ramayana talk about the true war of galaxies, with our world as a neutral scenario of their battles. At the end, the leaders of the opposition were subjected to expedition to Earth. They didn't want to come to help us. They were forced to come here. Even though not all the Orions participated with the dissidents, and many of them remained faithful to the cosmic plan, they were replaced by beings of Sirio, a greater clan, who along with the Pleiadians remained as guardians and sentinels. Those Orions who remained loyal were sent to the moons of Jupiter, and they remained there in mining colonies observing our planet, with hopes that someday they could act as planetary instructors and compensate for the damage that their fellows had caused us, or vindicate themselves as a civilization. Those beings that were deported here to the Earth should have changed their attitude, but that didn't happen. From the very first moment, they declared war to the death against humanity, and they tried to keep the cosmic plan from proceeding, so that humanity would not reach a level of evolution that they didn't want, or that they feared that the humans could achieve. They constituted a secret world government, fearsome and negative. These satanic forces started to conspire terribly against humanity. Being accustomed to living for thousands of years outside our world, they prematurely became old and died, becoming trapped in a 4th dimension here on our planet. Throughout history, they have influenced many human beings, persons with weak character and weak will. They connected these persons to politics, religion, and economy, to the leadership of the military, and to fashion and music, in order to sow worldwide chaos through these human agents and lead the world to its own destruction. The extraterrestrial beings of this terrifying and negative planetary regime are the ones who also somehow had influence over the Pleiadians to commit the serious transgression of having sexual relations with human beings on Earth. It was Semyasis, the boss of the 200 Pleiadians, who had sexual contact with the human beings. This is mentioned in Genesis chapter 6, when it says, "When the men started populating the earth and producing children, and the sons of God, the angels of heaven, seeing before their eyes that the daughters of men were beautiful, took as many as they wanted, and with them they procreated the ancient heroes of the past." That is how these 200 extraterrestrials had sexual contact and produced hybrids, mestizos, and were reunited in a group of 10 islands, the largest of them, Dundle Island, in the Atlantic Ocean. There they established their capital in Poseidon and Sophoseidopoulos. As Plato mentions in his dialogues, Critias and Timaeus, as well as in the Republic. Such was the knowledge and technology received from the extraterrestrials by the Atlanteans that it allowed them to develop large experimentation labs. They manipulated the brains of dolphins and whales, contributing to the advancement of these two creatures. They also allowed the Atlanteans to travel beyond our world, toward the stars. They had the intention of establishing colonies on Malek, Terma, Yoma, a planet that would have existed between Mars and Jupiter, and they would use Mars as a springboard to get there. Because this would permit the Atlanteans to get far away from the evolutionary process of their planet and wouldn't affect it. They were allowed to pursue it. This is why we found a huge phase on Mars, discovered in 1976 by Viking 1 and Viking 2 in the Sidonia zone. Pyramids were also discovered in the Liceo zone, and what appeared to be ruins of large cities in the Utopia zone. The Atlanteans coexisted underground on Mars with a Martian race that would have received the Atlanteans with curiosity. The technology these Martians received and the great advancement developed by the Atlanteans led to the gradual decimation of the Martian civilization. It also attracted an asteroid of erratic orbit called in those times Marduk. It would have crashed against Terma, Yoma, or Malek, and the resulting meteor shower would have rained destruction on the colonies of Mars. That same meteoric shower would have reached the Earth, first making impact on the Moon. The Earth trapped two big fragments that remained for a time as additional moons, meaning that at a certain moment of planetary history we had 3 moons. Those additional moons would subsequently have been absorbed by the Earth. One of them crashed in the Pacific Ocean, leaving as an imprint the Philippines Basin of 11 kilometers in depth. Later, the other moon fell in the Caribbean, leaving as impact the Puerto Rico Basin of 9 kilometers in depth. This created a zone of magnetic aberration, where the line forces that go from pole to pole tend to curl, forming whirlwinds and vortices of electromagnetic forces that collapse space-time, opening gates to other dimensions. These great destructions would have caused the